Welcome back to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. Today's episode was actually inspired by a question that came up in our TNA Alumni Power Hour sessions. We have these every week. I jump on Zoom with all of our alumni athletes and we talk about all things to do with nutrition. It is awesome. It is so much fun. But one of the athletes from the UK asked about the gut microbiome. He said that he's just seeing it everywhere at the moment. It's all over social media. And is it a thing or is it just another shiny object that's being shoved down our throats? And is there anything we need to do about it? Because all he's heard about is fermented vegetables and he needs to get amongst those. And I thought this is a brilliant question and something we talked about in detail in Power Hour, but I thought let's bring it to the masses because the gut microbiome is absolutely fascinating and it is a very rapidly fast evolving area of research at the moment. And it's actually becoming more and more relevant for triathletes when it comes to your performance. So today I'm going to break it down. We're going to talk about what the gut microbiome is and the difference between terminology so you understand what people are talking about when they use some of those terms, what the research is starting to show in endurance athletes, and what can you do to look after yours. So if you've ever wondered whether you should be eating more fermented foods or if gut health is maybe one of your missing pieces of your performance puzzle, then this episode is for you. Okay, so before we get into whether you should be adding fermented veggies to everything that you eat all day, every day, and side note, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Let's just take a quick little step back and talk about what the gut microbiome actually is and clear up a bit of confusion around the terminology because you will often hear microbiome and microbiota used interchangeably and they're not actually the same thing. So your gut microbiota, with an A on the end, refers to all the little tiny organisms that live inside your gut, mainly bacteria, but also viruses, fungi, and other microbes. So if you want to think of it as the cast of characters that make up your digestive system. Now, the gut microbiome, on the other hand, includes not only those organisms, but all of the genetic material that makes them up. So basically, it's the ecosystem that they create and how it functions. So microbiota is the bugs themselves and microbiome is the bugs plus all of the genes and everything that they do. And the trillions of things that are inside your body, there's up to about 2 kilos. The whole thing is essential for good health. They are going to help digest certain fibers, produce vitamins and short-chain fatty acids, regulate your immune system because about 70% of your immune system resides in the gut, and protect your gut lining from harmful invaders. They're kind of like the bouncers that keep things out. And scientists are discovering more and more about these microbes every year. And honestly, it is one of the most exciting areas of research right now, up there with all of the female athlete research that's happening at the moment, because the gut flora is as unique to you as your fingerprint. And we know that the modern diet has just absolutely smashed the diversity of the gut microbiome, and dysbiosis can occur. And that's where there's an unhealthy balance in your gut microbiome, which not only affects your bowel function, so think things like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, but can also lead to inflammation and autoimmune conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, and chronic fatigue syndrome. You might have also heard people call the gut a second brain, and there is a direct line of communication between your gut and your brain called the gut health axis. And that really just means that whatever is happening in your gut can influence your mood, your stress levels, your sleep, and potentially even how you perform as an athlete. So when we talk about gut health, we're really talking about keeping this entire ecosystem balanced and diverse. Now, before you start spooning kimchi out of the jar like it's peanut butter, it's important to understand that gut health isn't just about adding fermented vegetables to everything or taking a probiotic supplement. The goal is to create a really diverse and balanced ecosystem in your gut And that comes mostly from how you eat overall. Every day, it's not the once-off sauerkraut that you add to your burger. So now that we know what the gut microbiome is and the gut microbiota, let's dive into what the research is telling us, because this is one of the most exciting areas happening right now. We are learning more and more about the different strains and the types and their functions, which is so cool, and how the microbes in our gut can influence things all the way from digestion and immunity to your mood and your energy levels. The science is very much still evolving, but what's really clear is that your gut health can have a genuine impact on how well you train, how well you recover, how well you perform as an athlete, and that's pretty cool. So to simplify some of the core research, we know that the gut microbiome plays a role in all of those things: digestion, immunity, inflammation, regulation, all of that. And a healthy, diverse microbiome is going to help you maintain a really strong gut barrier. So that basically means that it's keeping the things inside your gut that need to stay in there and stops unwanted stuff leaking into your bloodstream, which can trigger inflammation. And if you think about yourself as an endurance athlete, you've got long hours of training. Sometimes that's in the heat. There is dehydration, which can be a factor, limited blood flow to the gut. It is the perfect storm for gut irritation and inflammation. And if your gut microbiome isn't in good shape, then that stress can absolutely be amplified. Now, what's cool in the endurance space is that some studies have found that certain bacterial species are more common in endurance athletes. One in particular, Veillonella, has gained attention because it feeds on lactate. So the same lactate that you produce in your muscles during hard training, and it converts it into energy that your body can then reuse. Now, it's early days, but it's a fascinating example of how gut bugs might actually be helping us to perform better. We've also seen some evidence that endurance training itself changes your gut microbiome, generally increasing the diversity, but in those that fuel well and eat plenty of fiber and carbohydrate. And so the reverse can also happen. If you are underfueling, following a restrictive diet and not eating well, then that can absolutely reduce the diversity, which isn't ideal for your health or performance. Now, that is very important because a lot of triathletes are underfueling and eating terribly. You might think you're doing okay if you're hitting the right macros, but have you got a nice foundation of a lot of diversity in your diet? Probably not. And so it's something we need to really start to put at the forefront of our minds, that it's more than just carbs and protein and calories all the time. We need to be smarter than that. Now, while there's no magical gut health supplement that, you can take and tick a box and boom, I'm done, and that's going to make you faster and the best triathlete ever, the research does show that having a healthy, balanced microbiome supports recovery, immunity, and potentially energy metabolism. All of those are really important for you as a triathlete. So it's not about chasing the latest, shiniest gadget, supplement, pill, whatever it is on social media. It's about fueling consistently well, eating to support your training, and giving your gut the variety that it needs to thrive. So that's a huge thumbs up for actually educating yourself on nutrition, something I bang on about all the time. And maybe the first step for you is doing something like my Triathlon Nutrition Kickstart course to teach you some of those rock solid foundations that you can build on as you progress through the sport. All of the details are at dietitianapproved.com/kickstart. So let's get practical. What can you actually do to improve your gut health? The good news is you don't have to have this massive overhaul of your diet or start fermenting cabbage in your kitchen. Although, side note, that is something that I do. It probably doesn't surprise you. I've been playing around with fermenting things for quite a while now. So if those recipes interest you at all, let me know and I can start adding some of them to the recipe database. You can send me a DM on Insta at dietitian.approve if you want to have a chat. I'd love to hear from you. But supporting your gut microbiome comes down to the same solid nutrition principles that also support performance: variety, balance, and consistency. I feel like I bang on about those things all the time. So I'm going to go through 6 things that you can do. As a triathlete, let's do it. The first one is eat a wide variety of foods. Your gut microbes thrive with that diversity. So you want to be aiming for at least 30 different types of plant-based foods in a week. So that includes not only fruits and vegetables, but your legumes, your whole grains, your nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. Each type of fiber feeds different beneficial bacteria. And that's going to help you build a really strong and resilient microbiome. The second thing you can do is include prebiotic foods. Prebiotics are a type of fiber that specifically feed your good gut bacteria. So think things like oats, garlic, onion, asparagus, bananas, legumes. Including these regularly is going to help those beneficial bugs do their jobs properly. The third thing you can do is add some probiotic foods. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, as long as it's actual kombucha, not just that artificially sweetened crap. All of those things contain live cultures that can help support microbiome. They aren't a magic fix though, and just blindly supplementing with a probiotic is not the answer either, sorry. But including them regularly, even just a couple of serves a week to start with, can help really boost that microbial diversity and gut resilience, especially for athletes like us that have heavy training loads. The fourth thing you can do is fuel your training properly. Underfueling is one of the fastest ways to upset your gut and your immune system. If you're constantly training on empty or not eating enough carbohydrate to match your training load, and that does scale up and down on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, then your gut lining can become compromised, and that can potentially lead to bloating, nausea, and GI distress. If you're fueling consistently well and hitting your right targets before training, during training, and after training to maximize your recovery, that is going to protect your gut and ultimately your performance. And if that's something you need help dialing in, then I can help with that when you're ready. Number 5 is be really cautious about drastic diet changes, particularly if you want to do a fat loss phase and you're like, right, I'm eating 600 calories and I'm going to lose all this excess body fat. That is a silly way to go about 1, weight loss, and 2, making your gut microbes very grumpy. If you decide to add more fiber to your diet or try some new fermented foods, just increase them slowly. Too much too soon can absolutely cause discomfort, and you're going to be like, whoa, Taryn, this did not work. I'm going back to my normal. So think, small changes, long-term consistently, not massive overhaul and struggling through debilitating gut issues as a result of that change. So if you've listened to all of this and thought, man, my gut and diet could definitely use some love, then you are not alone. Most triathletes have never actually been taught how to eat, 1, for triathlon and performance, but 2, for long-term health. And that is exactly what I love to teach you inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, to help you understand the why behind what you eat, not just follow another blind app-based meal plan that doesn't actually know you. Inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, you'll learn how to build a really solid nutrition foundation that supports your gut, supports your recovery, and is going to improve your performance once and for all. Number 6 is maybe for some people, you could consider doing some gut testing and get some deeper insight into what's going on. If you are somebody that has ongoing gut symptoms, or you're a bit of a nerd like me and you just want to know what's happening on the inside, you can take it one step further and do some gut microbiome testing. It's pretty exciting. So this type of test provides a detailed analysis of your gut health. It will help identify your levels of beneficial bacteria, pathogens, parasites, viruses, and markers of inflammation and digestive function, giving you a complete picture of your gut microbiome. I'm actually doing one of these tests myself at the moment, and I'm going to report back on a future episode with all of those juicy details once I get the results. It is expensive, so it's not something that I would just add to cart without having some knowledge, because there's lots of different types at the moment. There's heaps popping up. So if that's something that you're interested in, just sit tight and I'll give you the lay of the land, tell you what to look for, what to avoid. And what's important is how to actually interpret some of those results. So sit tight for that. That one is coming. So gut health, it is not a buzzword. It is something that you do need to pay attention to. The science is really clear that your gut microbiome plays a really big role in how your body functions and how you're going to feel. So I think we need to think about nutrition more than just chasing numbers and hitting macro targets. It's about looking at your nutrition as a whole, fueling properly, eating a wide variety of foods, and taking care of the small things that are going to make a big difference over time. If you need help with your nutrition, work with a sports dietitian who actually understands triathlon, someone who can look at the holistic picture and guide you to make smart, sustainable changes and support your training and your life. Not just calorie targets, because simply hitting macro targets each day is not going to keep your gut microbes happy, because we're better than that. Thanks for tuning in this week. I'll see you next week for some more easy to digest triathlon nutrition nuggets.